Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. What a day today is, my friends, as we say goodbye to Star Trek, the original series Season 1, and hello to Star Trek, the original series Season 2, as we watch the premiere episode, AMOK Time. Friends, there's not much I can say about Season 1 other than this. I had no idea what to expect going in, and I was blown away at every conceivable avenue and turn that season had taken. What an amazing contribution to not only television, but just storytelling in general. It is a profound work the entire season as it creates what now we have decades later as this thriving, breathing, living Star Trek universe. It is a Herculean task that I knew, having done the Q&As for the entire first season, was also a Herculean effort, as everybody put every ounce of their passion, their creativity, and hell, their money involved into getting this thing right. And boy, oh boy, is anything perfect? Absolutely not. Can something be as close to perfect as you can get? Absolutely. And that is Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, in my mind and for my money. So, friends, I can't wait to see what Season 2 brings. But if you could do me a favor first, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, or ringy-ding-ding that bell for notifications. You'll be alerted next time we go live on YouTube with any Star Trek, or any Expanse, or any of our sci-fi related material. And of course, if you'd like anything early or in its full-length format, the link to the Patreon is in the description. Not a fan of Patreon? Stick with us here on YouTube memberships. You get everything about a day early, plus any bonus episodes for Star Trek or The Expanse in the form of The Expanse case studies or the soon-to-be-released Star Trek case files, where we look at an individual character throughout the ages of one of the members of the crew or perhaps a guest star, just to see exactly and drill down and really do a deep dive onto this specific character. But my friends, all that is then and this is now. And now it's time to continue our 5-year journey as we explore Season 2 of Star Trek, the original series, with the premiere episode of that season, AMOK Time. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And for the first time in Season 2, away we go. Ha! Look at that beauty. What a beauty. Look at this. He's taking the stairs.
We're not a Vulcan, I'd almost say nervous. And for another thing, he's avoiding food.
Really?
Well, that just sounds like Mr. Spock in one of his contemplated phases. Miss Chapel.
She was going to take off.
Oh, Vulcan plummeek soup. And I'll bet you made it, too. You never give up hoping, do you?
Well, Mr. Spock hasn't been eating, Doctor, and I...
That's all right. Carry on, Miss Chapel.
Is it Miss Chapel or Nurse Chapel? Commander Spock.
Your logical, unemotional first officer turned to me and said, "You will cease to pry into my personal matters, Doctor, or I shall certainly break your neck." Prying, if I want anything from you, I'll ask for it.
What's going on, Spock?
I should like to request a leave of absence on my home planet. On our present course, you can divert to Vulcan with a loss of but 2.8 light days.
What's going on?
What the devil is this all about?
I have made my request, Captain.
Yeah.
All I require from you is that you answer it, yes or no.
Ooh. All right. I'm guessing Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier. Here he goes. We get a little chance to talk here. So first off, what I'm noticing is, they brought Nurse Chapel in at the very beginning of this cold open for Season 2. But, with Nurse Chapel in there, it also seems like they were hinting at what we saw earlier in Season 1 with a brief thing where Nurse Chapel said that she loved Spock. So anywho, and that kind of harkens to the little I've seen of Strange New Worlds, where it's something that kind of speaks of a love affair, not a love affair, but like a romantic feelings between Nurse Chapel and Spock. Joseph Pevney, they're putting the directors in the front.
It is undignified for a woman to play servant to a man who is not hers.
I'm more interested in your request for shore leave.
Yeah, I mean,
In all the years that I've known you, you've never asked for a leave of any sort.
let Jim finish.
Surely I have enough leave time accumulated.
Agreed, but that isn't the question, is it?
No, there's something going on. Are we friends or not, Spock?
Then, since we're headed for Altair 6, and since the shore facilities there are excellent...
No, I must...
You must what?
I wish to take my leave on Vulcan.
Okay. Look at his hand.
Spock, I'm asking you.
What's in his hand? Is it a knife? What is he holding?
I need rest. I'm asking you to accept that answer.
I mean, it looks like a blade.
Helm. Yes, Captain. Alter course to Vulcan.
What you got in your hand there, Spock?
Thank you, Captain.
I didn't really have much of a choice, did I,
I
Spock?
suppose most of us overlook the fact that even Vulcans aren't indestructible.
We're not.
What is going on?
Captain, something's coming in on the Starfleet channel. Priority and urgent, sir. Switching over.
To Captain, USS Enterprise.
Look at that.
Inauguration ceremonies, Altair 6 have been advanced 7 solar days.
Uh-oh.
Order of Comac, Admiral, Starfleet Command. Knowledge?
Admiral Comac.
Mr. Chekhov, compute course and speed necessary for compliance.
Chekhov!
We'll have to head directly there at, warp 6, sir. Insufficient time to stop off at Vulcan.
Insufficient time to stop off at Vulcan. What about Vulcan?
Don't worry, I'll see that you get your leave as soon as we're finished.
Quite understand, Captain.
You need to explain yourself, Spock, so Jim and Leonard can help you. By the way, that was all like one shot on the bridge, which was exceptionally well done. With the exception of cutting away to Chekhov. As soon as they did the first cut to Chekhov, it broke, but...
How far behind schedule will diverting to Vulcan put us?
We're on course for Vulcan, Captain. As Mr. Spock ordered.
Ooh... Huh?
Mr. Spock. Come with me, please.
This has a level of tension I didn't necessarily expect there to be. And the music is playing into the sinister arena.
You changed course for Vulcan, Mr. Spock. Why?
Changed the course?
Do you deny it?
No. No, by no means, Captain. It is quite possible.
Then why'd you do it?
Captain, I accept on your word that I did it.
He doesn't remember.
I do not know why, nor do I remember doing it.
He hitched on that one line. They kept it. That's cool.
Cannot. No Vulcan could explain further.
Trying to help you, Spock.
Ask me no further questions. I will not answer.
Okay. Give us one word as to something that we can look up.
To report to the sick bay.
Sick bay.
Yeah.
Complete examination. McCoy's waiting.
Or we fight and you kill me. Because you can punch through a brick effing wall. Well, that was a good shot. Living and breathing Enterprise. Look at them moving all these extras around, going down the ladder in the back. I see you. I see you, atmospheric shot. Look at that in the hallway. Ah,
Come in, Spock. I'm all ready for you.
they're playing the fiddle just to my tune.
My orders were to report to sick bay, Doctor. I have done so.
But now I'm leaving.
And now I'll go to my quarters.
Yeah.
My orders were to give you a thorough physical. In case you hadn't noticed, I have to answer to the same commanding officer that you do. Come on, Spock. Yield to the logic of the situation.
Let your buddy... Listen, Bones is never going to hurt you.
For all the good it'll do either of us.
That's fine. Let Bones do his job. And Nimoy.
How do you figure it, Chekhov? First we're going to Vulcan, then we're going to Altair, then we're headed to Vulcan again. And now we're headed back to Altair.
I think I'm going to get spacesick.
More of those exchanges, please.
If you don't get him to Vulcan within a week, 8 days at the outside, he'll die. He'll die, Jim.
I don't think that was a dolly move-in. I think that was a handheld move-in.
Must he die? Why within 8 days? Explain.
I don't know.
How do you don't know? What's his symptoms? What's his diagnosis?
As if in our bodies, huge amounts of adrenaline were constantly being pumped into our bloodstreams.
Oh, wow.
But if it isn't stopped somehow, the physical and emotional pressures will simply kill him.
This is a huge oversight not to have like Vulcan medical jargon or whatever available to Bones.
He knows what it is.
He does. And he's as tight-lipped about it as an Aldebaran shellmouth.
I'm gonna guess that's pretty tight-lipped.
No use to ask him, Jim. He won't talk.
Jim's like, you were saying something, Bones? I'm out. Did somebody die?
McCoy has given me his medical evaluation of your condition. He says you're going to die unless something is done.
Spock, let Jim help you. Trust him.
Spock. You've been called the best first officer in the fleet.
Whoever said that was 100% right.
If I have to lose that first officer, I want to know why.
I like that. I like that approach. That's logic. It's not that I love you, buddy. It's what do I do if I lose my first officer? I like that.
There's a thing no outworlder may know, except those very few who've been involved.
Trust him.
Speak of it among ourselves. It is a deeply personal thing. Can you see that, Captain? And understand?
No, I do not understand. Explain.
But you can see it, Jim. You can see that he's caught by it.
Captain, there are some things which transcend even the discipline of the service.
What about friendship? Not as captain and first officer.
Would it help if I told you that I'll treat this as totally confidential?
Not in your logs, nothing.
It has to do with biology.
Is this Ponfar? I wonder if this is Ponfar. I know Ponfar is like, they need to mate, right?
Biology as in reproduction?
Jesus, Jim, yes.
Were to have their logic ripped from them, as this time does to us.
Oh, I get it. So it pulls their logic away and forces them to have emotions, which makes them randy.
How do Vulcans choose their mates? Haven't you wondered?
Jim's like, no.
I guess the rest of us assume that it's done quite logically.
Is it the opposite? Is it just like carnal instinct?
It is not.
It's fascinating.
We shield it with ritual and customs shrouded in antiquity.
Great line.
It strips our minds from us. Brings a madness which rips away our veneer of civilization.
It's like focused biological ecstasy.
It is the Pon Far.
There we go.
Time of mating.
Nice. Is that the literal definition? I wonder. Time of mating. I love watching this, my friends. I love seeing where this shit starts.
On your Earth.
Salmon. I was just gonna say.
They must return to that one stream where they were born.
There's a guy. We got our light bars again.
Nor am I a man. I'm a Vulcan.
You're also half human, Spock.
We are driven by forces we cannot control. To return home. And take a wife. Or die.
Lord. Talk about a shotgun wedding. I like that smoking thing in the back. Friends, what is that?
I haven't heard a word you've said.
I want one of those in my office here. Do you think that'd be practical?
You to Vulcan, son.
I'd like a little bit more friendly emotion from Jim there as opposed to matter-of-factness. Spock's your guy.
Mr. Sulu, you don't think...
Maybe you ought to plot a course back for Vulcan, just in case.
Chekhov already adds so much because we get Sulu and Chekhov interacting, and we get to see, like, somebody outside of the big three talking.
You're making a most unusual request.
I'm aware of that, sir, but it's of the utmost importance. You must give me permission to divert to Vulcan.
But you refuse to explain why it is so important?
Yeah, and I'm the superstar of the effing fleet, dude.
This inauguration will stabilize the entire Altair system.
Yeah, and he just jumped it up by 7 days, so F him.
Which will cause ripples clear to the Klingon Empire.
Ooh.
The delay would be at most a day. I can hardly believe
You will proceed to Altair 6 as ordered.
we would be one of 3 starships. Very impressive, very diplomatic, but it's simply not that vital.
You can't go off to Vulcan against Starfleet orders. You'll be busted.
And I can't let Spock die, can I, Bones?
Now there's Jim the friend.
I owe my life a dozen times over. Isn't that worth a career?
There we go. Isn't that worth a career?
He's my friend. Bridge navigation.
Bridge, navigation.
Mr. Chekhov, laying a course for Vulcan.
Already doing it, sir.
Course already plotted. Laying it in, sir.
I see. Very well, carry on, Mr. Chekhov. Kirk out.
I'm already loving Chekhov. What a great addition. I can see why. I can see why, everybody. Well, this might be a... Having Chapel around... I can see where they got this shit for Strange New Worlds. I can't wait to rewatch all that stuff. I've seen most of Strange New Worlds, but I'm seriously kind of looking forward.
You were trying to tell me something, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh, wow.
It would be illogical for us to protest against our natures.
Does he feel it too?
Your face is wet.
I came to tell you that we are bound for Vulcan. We'll be there in just a few days.
Miss Barrett, nice job.
Would you make me some of that lo-make soup?
Oh, I'd be very glad to do that, Mr. Spock.
Nice. I'm already liking, we're really spreading out. Chekhov, Nurse Chapel. And again, correct me, friends, I'm going by, like, her title is Nurse Chapel. They're calling her Miss, but...
There is a thing that happens to Vulcans at this time. Almost an insanity, which you would no doubt find distasteful.
You've been most patient with my kinds of madness.
Would you beam down to the planet's surface and stand with me? There is a brief ceremony.
Is it permitted?
It is my right.
Oh, nice.
By tradition, the male is accompanied by his closest friends.
Oh!
I also request McCoy accompany me.
Oh!
I shall be honored, sir.
Ah, now I am in love with this. Here we go, friends. God, they brought tears to my eyes. Spock's admission. What a great show.
Spock, it is I.
Is this T'Pring?
She's lovely, Mr. Spock. Who is she?
She is T'Pring,
Are you already?
my wife.
Holy shit. And Christine's there. Oh, shit. Wow, friends. They know how to start a season 2, don't they? Holy shit, is this good. My closest friends. And he asked Bones. He asked Bones, everybody. Oh, look at that shot. Is that an original shot, everybody? Are any of these shots original? Because these are amazing. This is one of my favorite episodes already. One of my favorite episodes. Look at this set.
My family. It has been held by us for more than 2,000 Earth years. This is our place of Kunut Khalifi.
I hate to admit this. My only experience with being on planet on Vulcan that I can remember is the Abrams movies.
In the distant past, Vulcans killed to win their mates.
They still go mad at this time.
I love this. Oh my God, this is great.
Wish the breeze were cooler.
Yeah, hot as Vulcan. Now I understand what that phrase means.
The atmosphere is thinner than Earth.
I like the mention of the temperature and the atmosphere. That makes it so much more realistic.
You said T'Pring was your wife.
By our parents' arrangement. A ceremony while we were but 7 years of age.
Really?
Less than a marriage, but more than a betrothal.
Okay.
Our minds were locked together at the proper time. We would both be drawn to Kunut Khalifi.
Kunut Khalifi. I'll make sure to pronounce that horrifically. Kunut Khalifi. Kunut Khalifi? That's the last time I'll get it even close. This is, pardon the pun, it doesn't mean to be fascinating. So are those shields with chimes in them or bells? Man, a tip of the cap to the costume designer, the prop department. Who is it?
Powell. The only person to ever turn down a seat in the Federation's council.
Wow.
Officiating at Spock's wedding.
He never mentioned that his family was this important.
Awesome. That guy that was the Vulcan behind T'Pring sort of looks like the Romulan second from Balance of Terror. Oh, I love it. She's mind melding with him. Yeah, that guy really looks like the dude that was the second. I wonder if that's the same actor. I'll look that up in Q&A.
Are our ceremonies for outworlders?
They are not outworlders.
They're for my friends.
They are my friends. I am permitted this.
Read your rule book, honey. I like how they're making them sweat. Oh my God.
This is Kirk.
But this is Pevney or whoever it is. Excellent job.
And they are called?
Leonard McCoy, ma'am.
Doctor Extraordinaire.
How does the pledge their behavior?
With my life, T'Pau.
Wow.
This is the Vulcan heart. This is the Vulcan soul. This is our way.
Amazing. So good.
Khalifi!
Khalifi? What's that mean? I swear that guy's the second from Balance of Terror. What does this mean? She doesn't... What the hell's going on? Big son of a bitch there with that halberd.
Chooses the challenge.
With him?
He acts only if cowardice is seen.
Crazy.
She will choose her champion.
Yeah, it's gonna be that guy, obviously, right?
Do not attempt to speak with him, Kirk. He is deep in the Black Tow, the blood fever.
Oh no.
If he wishes to depart, he may leave now.
He's not leaving Spock. Are you kidding?
We'll stay.
Spock chose his friends well. He will have to fight for her. It is her right.
So you should pick a champion. I'm guessing it's that dude him. It's him. It's gotta be him.
They are prepared to become the property of the victor.
The property?
Spock, does he accept challenge according to our laws and customs?
This is such an amazing episode. I don't know, I keep saying that. I am enthralled with this. Spock's gonna tear through this guy. I'm not concerned. Unless he's like incredible.
Think Spock can take him?
Hell yes.
I doubt it.
Jesus, Bones.
Some condition.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
He will choose thy champion.
Well, let me guess.
As it was in the dawn of our days.
At least it's not that guy.
This one.
What?
I have made the ancient claim. I claim the right. The woman is...
Right.
Ooh, you don't have a choice in this, buddy, but what the hell is she picking Kirk for?
Ye are free to decline, with no harm on thyself.
I really like T'Pau. The actress playing her is really good. Fascinating character. The only person to turn down a seat on the High Council of the Federation.
I will do what I must, T'Pau. But not with him.
Is it like to the death?
He is my friend.
It is said,
Oh,
thy Vulcan blood is thin. Are ye Vulcan,
oh, that's terrible.
or art ye human?
Great acting, but
My heart is flame. In the name of my fathers, forbid. Forbid.
Nimoy.
T'Pau.
Unreal.
It is decided.
Listen, she's not gonna buckle from tradition.
Do not interfere, Kirk. Keep thy place.
Listen, Jim's not scared. He just wants to get this right.
And you said Spock might not be able to handle it. Now, if I can knock Spock out.
Jesus, Jim. I like how Jim still thinks he can win. Jim's like, well, I'll just knock him out and it'll be all right. Or he'll break your neck. Oh, great. This is great. Chaos, kinetic.
You can't do it.
If I get into any trouble, I'll quit.
You can't quit. Is that, I make it sound...
He's my first officer, my friend. I disregarded Starfleet orders to bring him here. The POW of Vulcan. All of Vulcan in one package. How can I back out in front of her?
Right, let her see that humans are made of sterner stuff.
Kirk, decide.
T'Pau, I'm here to fuck shit up.
Here begins the act of combat for possession of the woman T'Pring.
So what if Kirk wins? Does he have to marry T'Pring?
Bring forth the Lirpa.
What is the Lirpa? I'm guessing it's some type of like batleth. Oh shit. I've seen these before. I think in Lower Decks. It's basically like a yard edger, but let's do it. Oh my god, I bet you it's like super heavy for Kirk.
If both survive.
This combat is to the death.
Well, how in the absolute shit are you gonna do that? I mean, could you... I don't know. I was gonna say, could you let it look like Spock has killed you, Kirk, and then Bones can help you?
Let no one interfere.
Oh, boy. Tradition. So why did T'Pring pick him? I mean, if you like Spock at all, why would you make him fight his best friend? Or... Oh, shit. You almost lost a nipple. Nice job. Spock's way too strong. Nice. Oh my god, you're unarmed, Jim. Oh, nice move. I know it's stunned people, but I'm...
Spock, no!
Troika!
Why?
Is this Vulcan chivalry?
Bones.
The air's too hot and thin for Kirk. He's not used to it.
The air is the air. What can be done?
Wow, he's really bleeding.
I can compensate for the atmosphere and the temperature with this. At least it'll give Kirk a fighting chance.
We may proceed.
Why didn't you offer that before, Bones? What are you... Bones is playing at something here.
You're gonna have to kill him, John.
Kill Spock? That's not what we came to Vulcan for, is it? What's that?
We'll help you breathe. Now be careful.
Sound medical advice.
Wow, they are going for it in this first episode. This is the second weapon, right? The hell? Yeah, he's like, what is this? Death by jump rope. What was her name in Kill Bill Go-Go? Bone should have given him like PCP or something to compensate for the strength. Oh no! He's gonna kill you, Jim.
Troika!
Oh. Jesus, Spock's not gonna be able to live with himself. I mean, obviously Kirk's not dead, but...
It's finished. He's dead.
Did Bones give him something to knock him out like this? Well effing played, Bones, if that's what you did.
Go ahead on a price.
Enterprise, Lieutenant Uhura here.
Have the transporter room stand by to beam up the landing party.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's what he did, but...
You will instruct Mr. Chekhov to plot a course for the nearest starbase, where I must surrender myself.
So is this like T'Pring's move? Get him to kill his commanding officer so he'd go away to prison?
Why the challenge? And why you chose my captain as your champion?
Stan wanted me, I wanted him.
Then...
But if you did not free me, it would be the same. For you would be gone.
Huh.
And I would have your name and your property. And Stan would still be there.
Wow.
Logical. flawlessly logical. She is yours. After a time, you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting.
Woo!
It is not logical, but it is often true.
Love it. So I thought he had, I mean, not to be crude, I thought Spock had to have sex to, like, get rid of the Pon farr.
Live long and prosper, Spock.
I shall do neither. I have killed my captain and my friend.
Wow.
Energize.
That is awesome. Look at that beauty. So now it's just to say they're obviously playing with this, but was it Bones that did it?
There can be no excuse for the crime of which I'm guilty. I intend to offer no defense.
There he is.
Furthermore, I shall order Mr. Scott to take immediate command of this vessel.
Don't you think you better check with me first?
Captain. Jim!
Oh, listen to me. Oh. Oh. Give yourself that one, Spock.
I'm pleased.
Give yourself that one, Spock.
Uninjured, I am at something of a loss.
Oh, I love that.
Blame McCoy. That was no triox compound he shot me with. He slipped in a neuroparalyzer. Knocked me out. Simulated death.
It must have been the combat. When I thought I had killed the captain, I found I had lost all interest in T'Pring. The madness was gone.
Really? So that did it? That cured the blood fever?
Captain Kirk, message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
It's gonna be the Admiral.
Response to T'Pol's request for diversion of Enterprise to planet Vulcan, hereby approved. Any reasonable delay granted.
There's just one thing, Mr. Spock. You can't tell me that when you first saw Jim alive that you weren't on the verge of giving us an emotional scene that would have brought the house down.
Let him go, Bones.
Merely my quite logical relief that Starfleet had not lost the highly proficient captain.
Of course, Mr. Spock. Your reaction was quite logical.
Thank you, Doctor.
In a pig's eye.
Come on, Spock. Let's go mind the store.
Oh my God. This is the dynamic I wanted. Oh, nice job, everybody. Friends, we just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 1, AMOK Time, and it was a banger. And the only thing we have left to do is to talk about it. All right, my friends, we just got done watching Star Trek, Season 2, Episode 1, AMOK Time. Hands down, one of my favorite episodes so far. I would say this is definitely rocketed into the top 5. Again, I did my season 1 rankings. I'm not going to start slotting season 2 in as we go. I'm going to do separate season rankings and then maybe an entire series ranking when finished. But this was an incredible episode. This was so well done, so well acted. We got incredible information from, really just a plethora of background on Spock, on the Vulcan culture, on the planet Vulcan. Unreal stuff. Like I said in the reaction, take this for what you will. I can't remember ever having been on Vulcan in any of the Star Trek that I've seen, like on planet on Vulcan, with the exception of the first J.J. Abrams movie where they, spoiler alert, like destroy Vulcan. Again, I've always been incredibly curious about it. And now that's not true. I started the animated series and then realized I was ruining some things for myself, so stopped it. But one of the episodes in the first couple episodes of the animated series actually had Spock traveling back into the past on Vulcan. But again, that was cartoon animation and not live action. This was exceptional. Where to start? Let's start. Okay, so they gave us a huge new, for Star Trek anyway, they established a huge new kind of introduction to characters. It was a reintroduction for Nurse Chapel. We haven't seen her, I don't think, since What Are Little Girls Made Of? We might have seen her in the background of one other thing, but in a major way, not since What Are Little Girls Made Of? And now to have a focus on her and have her come in a little bit was really great to kind of establish that she does in fact have feelings of some emotional content towards Spock, and that Spock recognizes those feelings. He didn't act on them or anything like that, but he recognized them, and I guess his action or acting towards them was asking for the soup again, which I thought was great. But we had, I mean, T'Pring was a great introduction character. I'm not sure if we'll ever see her again, but T'Pring was really, really well done and fleshed out as far as like not necessarily a foil to Spock, but a complement to Fox, a complement to Spock as part of this, arranged marriage type thing. They said when they were 6 or 7 years old, it sounds like, they were kind of melded, like mind melded to kind of like make them, what did he say? It was more than betrothal, but less than marriage. So it was kind of like a advanced engagement, so to speak, for the two families to kind of have this kind of engineered from the beginning of their lives to eventually become married. Incredibly interesting. I mean, everything from the actual locale of Vulcan, we got the why is it so hot and the air's thin, immediately gives us like sensorial information so we can feel like, oh, it must be very hot on Vulcan. Oh, it must be, the air's thin, so it's going to be dry. It's going to be, really, really great use of description and great use of both temperature and, the air quality, respiration to make us kind of get an idea what it would really be like, which is super duper interesting to me. Not to mention, we had that really cool set, which was like the arena, temple, marriage ceremony area. Really well done. The jade gong that broke, that was a great stunt that they did there. I'm assuming they had it like pre-cracked and pre-broken, and it was set there to give way whenever Spock hit it with the thing that I'll never be able to pronounce again. That whatever it was, the bladed the bladed weapon, and it broke and fell apart. Really well done. The fight was really well done. I didn't like the second weapon that they had, the belt, it looked like. But again, interesting stuff. And then I think that the award for most intriguing character has to go to T'Pau. T'Pau was a really cool character. We get this immediate respect that Jim has for her. Do you know who that is? That's T'Pau. She's the only person to ever turn down a seat in Starfleet's council. I thought that was dope as hell because not just turned it down, the only person to ever have turned it down. That's intriguing to me. That means I need to know more about you. I need to know like what kind of stakes you have. We know what we're dealing with her too. She did two things in this episode, one by reputation and one by action, that kind of establish what we can expect from T'Pau going forward. The reputation is just what we mentioned, the only person to turn down a seat in Starfleet. The second was her action, making the effort in the overture to call the Admiral and say, no, 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 this was my request that they be diverted to Vulcan, and got it approved so Jim wouldn't be in trouble or the Enterprise wouldn't be in trouble. Which makes me wonder, I wonder if she sussed out what Bones had done, because that pretty much would have, I mean, contacting the Admiral and saying, hey, um, please excuse them. Kirk's dead, but we just wanted to say that it was our fault. I think she pretty much sussed it out what had gone on, because there wasn't any like, urgent communique from the Admiral. Kirk dead? Stop. What's going on? Stop. Incarcerate Spock. Stop. None of that. So it was obvious that at the very least she was in on it, to the point where she knew that something was up. And the one thing I also wanted to mention was that I'm going to definitely, verify this in Q&A, but I am almost 100% sure that Son, or the lover, or presumed paramour of T'Pring, I am almost positive that was the second in command of the Romulan ship in Balance of Terror, because that guy had a very unique face. Kind of a longer face, and I mean, handsome guy, but I mean, at the same time, he had a distinct quality to him. And again, he had that helmet on, if I remember correctly, in Balance of Terror. But even with the Vulcan ears and everything, he still held that same type of look, and so it was easy to identify. I'm pretty sure, if I'm wrong, then he bears a striking resemblance to that other actor. But really cool stuff. Just a great way to get us involved, really involved, with some incredibly interesting information for season 2. And I thought I'd end with this. You know what? I've said it before in season 1. One of the things I love the absolute most in Star Trek is their attention to the atmosphere. And not necessarily, I mean, we got the actual, like planet atmosphere with the temperature and the thin air quality of Vulcan, but I more appreciate and liken this to the atmosphere of the Enterprise. The business of the Enterprise is always being conducted. We're not in on all of the nuts and bolts that are going into what makes her fly, but watching people in the background, watching people climb up and down in the Jeffries tubes on the ladders, watching people leave and enter rooms that we are not privy to see where they go or come from, that is a living and breathing environment. And anytime we can add to that, whether it's crosstalk, which I love whenever you get to hear like, statistical information or, basically, people coming in with reports about, damage or, intruders or anything like that. As soon as Kirk gives a command, you hear that background kind of movement and crosstalk. But anything that enhances the atmosphere of the Enterprise, I love because it makes the Enterprise that much more alive. And today, in my opinion, we had the injection of what could be, and I'm assuming since Chekhov sticks around the entire time, a fantastic addition to not only the bridge crew, but that atmosphere of the Enterprise. And here's why. Because with Chekhov's first introduction, we have this interplay between he and Sulu. Normally, if we hear someone like Sulu or Scotty or Uhura in communication, it's with Kirk or Spock or Bones, one of the big three. Now, when you bring in Chekhov and they're in close proximity, he and Sulu, they can kind of conspiratorially give us like a pulse on the Enterprise. Like, oh, we're going back and forth. First Altar, then Vulcan, and back and forth. That I love. Because again, it speaks of an evolutionary like advance for the Enterprise. The Enterprise is that much more alive now that we have both Chapel. I would definitely put Chapel in this as well, and Chekhov. Great stuff. Just broadening out. Just with this episode, we went from having 6 with Kirk, Spock, Bones, Uhura, Scotty, and Sulu to having 8 maybe with the addition of Chekhov and Chapel. Love that. So again, we just get this incredible. We're growing, everybody. Season 2 off to a banger of a start with just an absolutely fantastic offering by Joseph Pevney, the director, and of course Gene L. Kuhn producing with Gene Roddenberry in executive production. Great stuff. And I missed the writer. I'm going to have to look up the writer for Q&A. But friends, that's the thing. I have so many things I have questions about. I need to know this background information. Was that guy the second in command for the Romulans? You know what? I can't answer it for myself, but I do know somebody that can. I'm not sure if they're going to come around for season 2, but maybe if we ask, they'll be nice enough to help. Q? Greetings, mon capitans, and welcome to another season of Q&A. Friends, this is where after having watched and reacted to a Star Trek The Original Series episode, I'd like to dive a little deeper and figure out what went on behind the camera. These are all elements that would have ruined the reaction for me had I watched it before. And to keep myself on the straight and narrow and not get off into the weeds on theories and other types of talking and chit-chat, I have given myself 5 distinct categories in which I will try to share any information I learned during this dive. The first category, who was our writer, who was our director? The second category, who were our guest stars? Did we have any? 3, the core cast. Of our big 8, who of the core cast was available for this episode? And 4, the best category of them all, the production notes. What went on behind the cameras? Because as we've always said, the story behind the cameras of Star Trek is just as intriguing as the story in front of the cameras. And last but certainly not least, category 5, a memorable quote from this episode. Friends, let's get started. All right, everyone, for our first category, who was our writer and who was our director? Well, we've had a couple returning people here for the second series, our second season premiere, in that our writer is Theodore Sturgeon. The last time we saw Mr. Sturgeon was as the writer for Shore Leave. And again, with Shore Leave, there was a lot of rewrites and things like that. But with this one, with AMOK Time, this one was almost wholly Theodore Sturgeon's product. He was able to do some rewrites. Of course, there was pass-throughs that were made towards the, closer to production, but nothing of the same level that was there for Shore Leave, that had Gene Roddenberry infamously typing underneath a tree, trying to get certain elements of the script through and ready for them. But again, welcome back, Mr. Sturgeon, for An absolutely amazing episode with elements that we'll talk more about in production notes. But who was our director? Well, it's Mr. Star Trek at this point, with Joseph Pevney returning as the director. Now, Joseph, of course, he did Arena, Return of the Archons, Devil in the Dark, and of course, City on the Edge of Forever. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Mr. Pevney definitely has his finger on the pulse of what both is right for Star Trek and is best for the Star Trek fan, because boy, oh boy, time after time, he has given us an arena of excellence in which he operates from, and I look forward to each and every offering that he brings into the galaxy. But friends, let's move on. And now, friends, for category 2, who were our guest stars? Did we have any? Of course, we had some in this one. In fact, we had some very memorable, very influential and important guest stars in this one that gave us a ton of information both about Spock and the Vulcan culture. So our 3 guest stars are 3 Vulcans. Arlene Martell played T'Pring. I thought she did a fantastic job. There was almost not a sinister nature behind her. Her logic in that face of, this is the way I decided to present it to you, Spock, whether or not you won or lost, I'd still have Ston, was the coldest form of logic I think I've seen from a Vulcan yet. It was exceptionally well done and performed. Speaking of exceptional performances, we had Celia Lovsky as T'Pau. I thought she gave a great, weighty presence, and I think she benefited from script narration too, in that Kirk showed a measure of awe and respect. Do you know who that is? That's T'Pau. She's the only person that ever declined a council seat from the Federation. That immediately gives us Jim's respect, something that we look at and say, oh my gosh, that's a weird thing. And then, of course, she lent the gravitas to the role of T'Pau. And Celia Lovsky did a great job of bringing this absolutely ruling, kind of not domineering, but just a very important Vulcan to life. And I thought it was exceptionally well done. Very nuanced performance that was really solid. And last but not least, Lawrence Montaigne as Ston. We'll talk a little bit more about Lawrence when we get down into production notes, because while his role in this episode was small, he did have a lot going on before this episode in the Star Trek galaxy, and he could have had quite a bit going forward after this episode. But we'll get into that in a bit. And now, friends, for the core cast, who was available. And here, for Season 2, we are going to adjust the core cast from the Big 6 to the Big 8. The Big 8 consists of Kirk, McCoy, Spock, Uhura, Scotty, Sulu, and now Chekhov and Chapel. If we have them all, we have a full boat. If not, I'll make mention of whenever one of the Big 8 does not appear. But so far, Chekhov and Chapel are doing a fantastic job with their inclusion in the crew. But to speak, who of our big crew, our Big 8 now, appeared? Everybody was mentioned. Everybody appeared except for Scotty. Scotty was mentioned in that when Spock said he was going to ask Mr. Scott to take over for him after he believed that he had killed Kirk, but James Doohan did not appear. So very close, but not a full boat, my friends. Anyway, on to the next category. And now, everyone, the big one, category 4, production notes. What went on behind the scenes? Well, good news about this one is very little negatively went on behind the scenes. Well, your definition of negative. We didn't have a bunch of rewrites. We didn't have a lot of problems plaguing production. This was the first episode of the 2nd season, so they did have a little bit more play with the schedule. But here's an interesting thing about AMOK Time. This actually was slated for Season 1. Because of the audience's huge response to Spock, the production team said, hey, we need to get some more information out about the Vulcans ASAP. But as Theodore Sturgeon is wont to do, as we saw with Shore Leave, it takes him quite a bit to kind of put pen to paper and produce something. Now, again, I love Shore Leave. I'm a huge fan of Shore Leave, probably too big of a fan of Shore Leave, but as we'll see in my rankings that are be coming out very soon. But with this one with AMOK Time, there was a it was well worth the wait. Do I think that they missed the boat by not getting more Vulcan information into the first season? You know what? I don't think so, because I think that having this be the lead off to season 2 was a huge hook. If I had been, watching the show and for some reason was on the fence about continuing to watch it, there's no way I could have turned away after AMOK Time came out. Incredibly well done. Amazing, amazing story. Was it worth the wait? I believe that it was. So, Mr. Sturgeon, even though you took some time, you created a banger. Now, I also promised to mention once again somebody from our guest stars who played Ston, Lawrence Montaigne. Now, Lawrence actually, I speculated during the reaction, I believed him to be the second in command of the Romulan craft in Balance of Terror. And thank God I was right, because I really doubled down on that in the reaction. I was going through editing and I was like, oh, I hope this guy's the second in command, otherwise, But it absolutely was. But here is the interesting thing, something I knew nothing about, but I'm sure many of you did. Between season 1 and season 2, there was a contract dispute with Leonard Nimoy. Again, I think it focused on his salary and from what I read, and I just briefly scanned the little blurb about it, it was like leading man money versus, supporting role money. And because of Spock's incredible popularity, Nimoy and his agent came forward and said, hey, we should basically be sharing this money thing with William Shatner. It said that it was resolved, but I didn't see what type of financial moves were made. I know neither side was happy. So I'm assuming that production gave up a little bit, but they didn't get nearly as much. So Nimoy and his agent weren't happy. So probably somewhere in the middle is where the truth lies. But here's the interesting thing about Lawrence Montaigne as he was brought in to do Ston. In the contract for this brief guest starring, blurb that he did as this Vulcan, there was also a line that says, in the event that Leonard Nimoy decided to try to press more for money, they were this close to replacing Leonard Nimoy with either our guy Lawrence Montaigne, who is the second in command on the Romulan craft, or the commander of the Romulan craft in Mark Leonard was going to be brought in to actually be recast as Spock. I think that is fascinating. And boy, oh boy, what a change or a difference could have happened where we would have had a brand new Spock for season 2 and conceivably for the rest of Spock's existence. Thank God that didn't happen. No, disrespect to Montaigne or Leonard, but no Leonard Nimoy? Goodness gracious, say it ain't so. And now, because there wasn't too many negative things, that was pretty negative with the contract dispute, but ultimately it was resolved and both parties seemed to be happy enough to go back to work and be friendly. So that's a good thing. So we have a bunch of other things that popped up that I thought were interesting for AMOK Time. One, and the most important, which is very, very evident, the inclusion of both Vulcan, the planet, and a huge infusion of Vulcan culture. We had Ponfar, we had terms that were dropped, we had the actual kind of atmospheric conditions on the planet Vulcan. We had an understanding of this ritual that would go on from arranged marriages all the way through to how their marriage ceremony actually works. Really intriguing, really, really cool stuff that we were able to kind of get a glimpse inside and for the first time delve deeply into the Vulcan culture. In addition to all the cultural elements that Sturgeon brought to his script, we also had our very first Live Long and Prosper, which, again, it's synonymous now with Spock and Vulcans and all of those things. And as the official greeting and goodbye of the Vulcan culture, we got to see it for the very first time here, very fittingly in season 2's episode 1, AMOK Time. Great, great stuff. And now, speaking of Live Long and Prosper, our very own T'Pau, played by Celia Lovsky, she, for whatever reason, and a lot of people can't do the Vulcan salute, she really couldn't. Like, she couldn't even hold her fingers apart after having manually placed them there. So apparently what she would do is she would hold her fingers apart with her opposite hand beneath camera line until the very last second and then lift them up. Now, she could only hold them at an angle, so the cameraman actually lined up the shot to make it look more even for her Vulcan salute. And the only time I actually caught her doing that was at the very end after Spock had killed Kirk. She live long and prosper. I'll do neither. We'll hear about that in a second too. But I thought that was interesting. Really, really good stuff, and a little humor involved there as Nimoy apparently helped her out in holding the fingers together and helping her get the salute just right. Now, of course, speaking of Leonard Nimoy, who this was our most Spock-centric episode, I dare say, to date, Leonard Nimoy quoted this of this episode. "I remember AMOK Time very well. Excellent script, very poetic, very dramatic, intense, and important. I felt it immediately for Spock and for the Vulcans." He concluded, "It was a very, very exciting episode to shoot and perform. It was so beautifully written and had great casting of the other people. Hell, it was very good." Mr. Nimoy, I take your word for it, for everything, but I am certainly glad I saw it with my own eyes, and I concur. And last but certainly not least for production notes, my friends, as is fitting for such an amazing, amazing work, this episode was nominated for a 1968 Hugo Award in the category of Best Dramatic Presentation. And friends, last but certainly not least, our Category 5 consists of what I consider, or Q considers, to be the memorable quote of this episode. We hinted at it before. This one is between T'Pau and Spock after Kirk seemingly has been killed at Spock's hands. T'Pau says, "Live long and prosper, Spock." And Spock responds, "I shall do neither. I have killed my captain and my friend." An incredible line delivered impeccably by both actors, with a tip of the cap to Mr. Nimoy for adding just enough emotion into the voice to give it the gravity it deserves without betraying the character of Spock. Thus ends our Series 2 premiere of Q&A. Until we meet again, behave.